All right. Now I'll introduce Eric Miller with the SHW Group. The SHW Group is the firm charged with designing the first building of the East Williamson County Higher Education Center in Hutto, which will house Temple College and TSTC. They're an interdisciplinary, you had to throw a word like interdisciplinary in there. Team of architects, engineers, planners, and educators that's dedicated to studying, defining, and creating environments that inspire creativity and drive student potential. And Eric's going to come tell us about all the pretty pictures that we're going to. All right. Thank you, Eric.
I appreciate you folks having me out here today. I was given a mic. No one's ever asked me to be louder. Apparently. Is that, can you all hear okay? Okay. Well, we're honored to be out here today, and I know there's a lot of people in the room, and if you have questions afterwards, I just want to point a couple of folks out. We've got Mark Baker with SEC, who's landscape design and site planning for this project, and then Christy Bickle and Rory Estes are architects in our firm. So if you folks have any questions and can't get to me, they know everything about this building and probably more than I do, so they can answer any questions you might have there. It has been a great time working with both of these institutions in your community. Our firm is focused entirely on educational projects, so we work in a lot of communities in Texas. Coming out here to Hutto, it's been very easy to work with the local utility company, the fire department, the city manager's office. We get information from you guys that sometimes in other communities takes months to get, so it's a credit to the values up here, how easy you guys have made it for us to do our job. And we appreciate this job. It's a fantastic building. They've talked a little bit about the program, you know, the types of classes that are going to be in there. So I'll review that briefly as we go through this presentation. Rory, could you get lights, maybe? All right. Our designer decided to make this as dark as possible. So we know this facility, and you know the two clients that we're working with, Temple College and Texas State Technical. You know, the administration are passionate, empathetic people, and there's some great educators on both sides. So when this building is up and running, this community is going to benefit immensely from the passion that these folks bring to the table, and there's some really good programs they're bringing into this building. We started this project by interviewing a lot of people in a couple of different formats, and of course we can't read any of this, but basically what's here, what this wants to tell you is, you know, it's the identity of the building, right? The most important thing in that facility, because we've got kids there that we're trying to educate, is to understand how they want to interact with these students. So we spent a lot of time working that out, so this building supports all of those efforts. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, they came together and with this preliminary site plan for that site, that Avery land there off of County Road 108. Phase 1, like they have mentioned before, is this first building. It's about 112,000 square feet, and it does a lot of different things. There's the building technology department, which Fred talked about a little bit. We've got science labs, we've got culinary, a lot of classrooms, a lot of computer classrooms. So there's lots of opportunities for people to come in there. There's a small library, bookstore, and a cafe. Lots of open space. We know that the way kids work now, it's not just learning in class, it's outside of class. So we have worked very hard, and if you look at the plans, you will see we've made accommodations throughout this building for the kids to come together before and after class to figure out how they're going to help enhance what they're learning from those instructors. So that phase 1 on the north end of the site, up here with parking, we've got to bring all the utilities. So we're planning very well for the future build out of this campus, making sure that things come on board and that we can tap into that infrastructure for future facilities, and allowing this building to provide some accommodation relative to the future economic impact this building will have. We're planning now so it would cost less in the future to add buildings on this site. One thing we did talk about is trying to be a little more sustainable. Somebody here mentioned the Energy Star rating. That original site plan took up a lot of the footprint of that, which means there's a lot of maintenance. All of that, that central core. So we've tightened that up a little bit, made more intimate quads, and Mark has done a fantastic job working out sort of outdoor gathering spaces. And you can see on that site plan the quality of work that they have put into this. It sits up, so this is the final building, which we've got the board printed out over there with all of the parking, the water pond. We're looking at providing a wet pond, so it's not just a dry site, it's a little more attractive that way, so that the impact visually of this campus begins to really represent what both of these institutions are trying to do with this building. which is work with this very value-based community. Site plan that I was talking about that Mark's team is working on, rigorously organized, very simple to build, but it provides lots of opportunities, and there's some great outdoor spaces that Mark has crafted out here that I think are really going to benefit this building. As we move through the process, we did lots of blocking and stacking diagrams, looked at how this building might sit on that site, and ended up with this plan, sort of a large entry into the building. This is a large open space here, so this light blue is all oversized corridors for the public to kind of hang out. This interacts with the community, library, bookstore, cafe. Here's the intake, right? Kids come in, they either need some financial aid, they got to figure out if they have testing. It's right there at the front of the building. And then all the building technologies back here. And level 2 and 3, classrooms, labs, and then culinary up in that upper corner. And you'll see, as we looked with the group, how this building wanted to appear, right? What is the aesthetic nature of the building? What's its impact on the community? And because it's the first building, it was very important for us to get it right, because it's going to inform what the rest of that campus looks like. Every future building wants to tie in with these materials. And we also needed to look at what the life cycle cost is going to be. So the building's entirely masonry. It's going to last a long time. It's built for 100 years. It's not something that's going to look bad 10, 15 years from now. Looked at some precedents for the inside of the building, and then went through a lot of diagrams with the group. What are options for how that building might look? And then we ended up with this facility right here. It's got broad shoulders. It's got a proud stance. It sits on the north end of the site, and it's going to anchor that campus quad in the future. Some of the areas that Mark's been working on out here, and these are all along the wall as well, so you folks can take a look at that. That's the view if you were on the access road coming up 130. So thank you, and I'll take any questions you folks might have.
Where'd you get the great big trees?
That's a good question. You know, you bring up a really good point, though. The material choices we've made on this facility, we really are looking to bring materials that are within 150 miles of where we're at. We're trying to use the local economy as much as we can, both in the manufacturing and production side as well as the installation side. So we're trying to make sure that we bring as much labor from this community onto this construction site. And I know that Rory bought his car up here. We bring our Cub Scout back up to Del Diamond all the time, so people appreciate this community from all over. It's a great resource in Central Texas, and we're grateful to be working with you folks. Yes, sir.
What is the general breakdown of the building? So how much square feet are going to be dedicated to classroom space and lab space and the library?
All right, that's a great question. Maybe I'll go back to the plans. We can talk about that a little bit so you folks have some idea. All right, so on level 1, we've got about 35 to 40,000 square feet dedicated to building technologies. We've got welding, and you've got air conditioning and all the low voltage and the electrical distribution that Fred talked about. That's all here. These are all classrooms, and then a computer lab. Like I said, that's intake there, and then this footprint down here is sort of service for the building. So the first floor of this building has those 6 classrooms plus that computer lab, along with about 40,000 square feet for building technologies. Level 2, dedicated to classrooms, labs, and then faculty offices. And level 3 is culinary, takes the entire east side of the building. And then we've got science labs up there on level 3. One of the reasons we put culinary and science labs on top of the building is we've got stuff we need to vent out of that building, and we don't want to pull that all the way through it, so we put them up there. It vents right out of the roof. It's a really good, sustainable way to manage those 2 areas. Plus, if that building, if the air conditioning return from that culinary came through that building, people would not be concentrating on their classwork because they make some good food out there.
Eric,
yes.
I talked about the 3 classrooms and the dining room.
Fair enough. All right. So this section of the building here, we spent a lot of time working on that with both the clients, the educators, and their boards to ensure that we did the right thing. It's going to have a fantastic presence. We've got lots of windows up there on that corner. At night, when the light comes out of there, it's an iconic building. The way we've accommodated that through program, we've got 3 classrooms down here that have operable partitions. So they're 40-person classrooms, but they can open up and you can get about 150 people in this room. And then right above that, these are large dining rooms for the culinary. It's about 2,000 square feet, or is it 3? It's about 2,000 square feet. So that room, this room up here that sits on that southeast corner of this, southwest corner of the site, I think we're looking at about 240 people in there. So instead of packing everyone in this room there, you have a little bit, you got some elbow room. Mark Smith with Temple College was talking about how he couldn't even turn around, so that'll help that quite a bit. Is that what you wanted me to get at, Paul? Okay. Yes, sir.
Are you still on the same timeline that you've been on?
All that text that you couldn't read, 2 of the items in there, it's got to be open in 2013 for that fall set of classes, and we're on schedule for that. And it says we've got to maintain budget, and we are doing the best we can to maintain budget. We haven't exceeded any programmatic requirements. We're doing everything they need to do there, and we're making sure everything within our power is being done, that this comes in on budget, on schedule for this community. So yeah, we're looking at next fall. It should be fully operational with all the furniture and equipment installed.
Has a specific groundbreaking date been set?
No, we're going to issue drawings at the end of the month. We'll send them out to the plan rooms, and I think Paul's going to talk about this in a little bit. So we advertise on the state website, and most contractors, both general contractors and subcontractors, pay attention to that. And there's a couple of plan rooms, IC Squared, Dodgen, so we'll send it out there, and that they notify most of the contractors that it's coming. So we put these out on the street at the end of this month. They're going to begin the contracting process in April. By the end of April, we'll have an idea when that groundbreaking is. We're going to have to work with a contractor to make sure that happens, and hope that the spring gives us an opportunity to pour a slab, because it's been raining a lot lately. So we've got to make sure that thing gets in the ground on time, because without that, that ends up pushing the schedule a bit. Yes, sir.
Timeline for completion?
We're hoping to be done about the end of July in 2013, so they can install the equipment. There's a lot of AV equipment in there. We've got a lot of technology in the classrooms, a lot of computers. Culinary is going to take a long time to set that up. We've got to test it all, make sure it works. And then building technologies, there is a lot of equipment that comes in here. So it's not just the installation, testing the infrastructure, making sure it all works. But then we kind of have to educate the people on how this building works. We need a couple of months really to do that, about 6 weeks. And then they bring the furniture in. We let that off gas, right? So it starts breathing within that facility, run the air conditioning a bit, test and balance it. We need about those 6 weeks after we're done to make sure it's fully operational. Now, the great thing about architecture is every building is a custom work, right? We don't ever repeat anything twice. It's a very unique component of the profession that we're in, and we're grateful for that. But it also means that there's always kinks and bugs that you got to work out before you let the students in and start using those facilities. Anyone else? Yes.
Of course, we want that ready by 1 July, so we have enough time to move in by the start of the fall semester.
Correct.
How difficult was it to work with the 2 colleges that one's doing academic, one's doing technical, we're trying to marry all that into one?
It's one of our favorite projects, and I think everyone on the team would speak to that. It's been a great group of people on both sides that have really come together to support a growing need, which is this particular type of curriculum in most communities. They've worked fantastically together, so I think we struggled more with what the building needed to look like, because it's the first building on the site, than coordinating anything on the inside. They worked together very, very well to make this as successful as they possibly could. Yes, sir.
On the construction, will you be utilizing Williston County companies or?
I'm sorry?
Construction, will you be using any contractors or local Williston County?
We hope so. I mean, one of the reasons that we specify local materials is that most of those suppliers work with subcontractors who know that material. So by doing that, that's one way for us to informally kind of support the local economy through the labor. So that's what we try to do. On state projects, we generally try to open things up and make it as non-specific as possible, right? Because we just want to be fair and make sure everyone has an opportunity. But by looking at local materials, that's one way to kind of keep that money in this local economy. Yes.
The backside, is that a lower elevation than the front?
It is, absolutely. This is single story. Actually, that's all single story. So This is your 3-story bar here. That comes up and everything back there. Now, it's not really single-story. It's about 1.5 because of the type of equipment and work they're doing in there. So I think we've got about 18 feet to deck. So it's fairly tall, but it's certainly not 3 stories. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. We're here to answer questions, and I think Paul wants to talk a little bit about some of the contracting.
Yeah, the intent is that we will put we're not bidding this project, we're doing what's called competitive seal proposal, which is similar to a bid. We will put that out at the end of March. Sometime in fairly early March, we will have a pre-proposal meeting, so the contractors that are interested can come and ask questions and other things like that of us and the architects. We'll get those proposals back toward the end of April. Our board, hopefully, will award this contract on May 4th. And so, as far as actual groundbreaking, we hope to have dirt moving sometime in mid-May. So, and if it's a 12, hopefully no more than 14-month construction time, then we should be in by early July, so of 13. So, does that make sense?
If anyone else has any other questions, please don't ask me. Ask the guys that actually can. Thank y'all for coming. I look forward to seeing you next month. Again, please take your time and look at the drawings and ask any questions you have, and appreciate having you here. Thank you.